Hello guys, so today I'm going to discuss about the virtualization. So let's learn about the virtualization. It's a buzzword for quite some time, and it is very important to understand what exactly is a virtualization. So it is used in a technical term, and I'm going to explain you in terms of the computers, in terms of the systems, what exactly is virtualization and how it is implemented. So let's get started. So I'm going to discuss about virtualization basics, and then how it is done, and what is the role of processors. So what is a virtualization with respect to processor? So let's go to the first topic. Okay, so the virtualization basics. So if you look at the virtualization as a whole, what exactly it is used for and why somebody will bother about the virtualization. So it is more of the use case where there is already operating system on one computer, and on the same operating system I want to run another operating system. So this is the one of the use case. So I don't have to install entire operating system on the hard disk and work. So this is one of the use case where you want to have another operating system on top of the existing operating system. So those operating systems run in a VM. Now when they run in the VM, what it would need, so basically this is also an operating system which needs memory, processor, storage, and all other things which a normal operating system use. So if you look at this diagram, I am mentioning here the guest operating system. So what is a guest operating system? This is the operating system which is guest to the host operating system, and it has to use the same hardware, drivers, and all the accesses it needs with respect to hardware and software which is existing in the system. Now the guest operating system is entirely the operating system in a way that it is entirely secluded, and it has its own virtual environment, so which is called an environment of the operating system. So this is called the virtual machine. So when you somebody say, okay, virtual machine, what is virtual machine? So virtual machine is nothing but a machine which is kind of a defined space on top of another operating system. So it is running a virtual operating system kind in on top of the another operating system. So let's understand this way. Now let's go to next topic. Okay, so how it is done. Now if we go to the deeper level of the virtualization, it is done in the software as well as hardware. Okay, so when it comes to the guest operating system, it can run on the x86 legacy as well, but it will be more of the just having the term saying okay virtualization, and it is using the same hardware configuration. So in that scenario it works, but it is more of the emulation, it is not of the actual use case where virtualization is used. So virtualization is mostly used in the server side, like in the server business, or the people who are using the virtualization on the telecom side or data center side. So those sides virtualization has a more specific requirement with respect to the on the desktop side. Desktop side it is mostly used just to seclude some operation from the host. So it is more of the VMware, if you know the virtual box. So that is kind of the virtual environment which is on the desktop, and it is used for the user to virtualize their own thing, but mostly it is used on the server side, data center side, and the telecom network side. Now when we come to the hardware based virtualization, so what is hardware based virtualization? So hardware based virtualization is more of the supporting the virtualization in the hardware. For example, Intel has this VTX technology to support virtualization. And AMD has AMD VT, and it needs to be enabled in the BIOS. If you want to check whether your hardware supports virtualization or not, you can go ahead in BIOS, you can enter the BIOS and you can check if VTX is available. If it is Intel based system, if it is AMD based system, then you can check AMD VT. So in this scenario, the virtualization is supported by hardware and it will be beneficial to the software or host OS if it is virtualized. So if you want to really take the advantage of virtualization, make sure you have hardware support for the virtualization. Otherwise, it will be very slow and it will not of much use. Okay, so how it is done? So basically, what happens is the hardware side, you have transfer of control between guest operating system and virtual machine. So there is a hypervisor which does that role, and there is a also called a virtual machine manager. So there's a virtual machine manager or hypervisor. These are two terms which are used in terms of the virtualization. So there is a guest operating system and the transfer of platform control happens with the help of virtual machine manager or hypervisor. Now the VMM, if you enable those, then it will assign the IO devices to the guest OS. So it's the role of the hypervisor or VMM is to assign the IO devices. And then you have the network virtualization with adapter based acceleration. So the network virtualization also comes into the picture where the networks is divided into the virtual side and it is kind of assigned to the guest OS. Now let me explain you about what is the role of the processor here in the virtualization and why it is important to have a multi-core processor, especially if you are using virtualization. Now virtualization have a multiple operating system and each operating system is running different processes on the software side, and if multi-core processor is there, virtualization thing can take advantage of making it parallel, and these cores basically what it does is it plays the role of the processor, and there are different cores, so each core can act as a separate processor and it does the same role as a normal CPU does in the x86 or let's say your old operating system. It does the same thing. So having cores is definitely a big advantage. Now when I say virtualization needs multi-core processor, now why it needs is it requires high performance. So when one operating system is running on top of another operating system, it needs really high performance, and use of multi-core processor is there and it is required, but the advantage of the multi-core processor can be only taken if software algorithm and their implementation is there to support that. Now the software is always evolving and it can run in parallel. Now the software has to make sure it is using multiple cores at the same time to achieve the high performance. The most of the software applications still are not accelerated because it is not kind of multi-threaded or multi-processor or multi-processes support in the software. So software need a lot of refactoring in terms of threading and multiprocessing. So thanks for watching this video, and if you have any questions on the virtualization, please write in the comment section.